All right. So I've been away since April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, I've been away for 5 months. A lot happened in the meantime. Now I was obviously finishing my semester out in Spain, which was very difficult for me, and I just wasn't in the best of headspaces to make videos. But I'm back. I know I've been away for a while. Didn't make any announcements, didn't like announce a break or anything, but I'm back, and that's all that matters. And I'm back with something a bit different. You'll see different things on this channel, but unlike what I used to do, which I will still do, by the way, but we are incorporating other things. And the number one change that we're making is what I'm starting with today, which is In the Mind of an Athlete, a series where I'll be diving into the mental side of the game that we don't get to see on the day to day. Now, I'm a football player, so I'll mainly be going off of that, but I think this can apply to any athlete out there at any level. So, the point is to just talk about points that we go through, issues that we may face, and these will mainly come from things that I go through myself. And the reason why I do this at the beginning of the week is because I'll have the week prior to go through my own training, whether it be individual and team training, and based off of that, I can come back to you guys and we can talk about whatever we need to talk about. If you have your own struggles as an athlete that you want to talk about in the comments, feel free to do so. But here in this new little series we have, the whole point is to dive into the mind of an athlete on a day-to-day basis, and not just get some feedback from these big celebrity athletes that we see in podcasts here and there. It's really to get it on a weekly basis and be able to progress and learn more often than we do now. So I'm gonna make sure to keep this raw and uncut, because what you go through as an athlete is very real. There's no cuts to it. There's no real break to a lot of the things that are going in your mind. And the first issue, or the first topic we'll cover, is the difficulty in managing your training in season and off season, but also the difficulty in managing individual and team training. So why is that important? It's important because obviously both components greatly contribute to our performances and as athletes. They greatly contribute to how we feel. They contribute to how competitive we are. So it's very important to not only know how to manage both, but to make sure that both complement one another. So a couple of the main issues that we have, or at least that I experience a lot, is not accepting to make changes. And that usually comes, I'd say, in between the off season and the in season. Now, it's one thing to have your individual training and then have your team training that you just do separately. But whenever both have to come together, which is usually in season, I think that's where I had a bit of a mental block at times, because I find it a bit hard to accept changing my individual sessions to adapt it based off of my team training. And what does that come from? I don't know if it's, I wouldn't say a lack of trust, but maybe also a fear to lose out on potential gains or potential, how can I say it? I mean, gains in your sport, it's not necessarily muscular gains. Apologize for that. But gains in your performance in very specific aspects of your game. For me, it could be just sharpness on the ball, sharpness of the ball. I'm a defender, so there are a couple of things that defenders do that you like to work on. But also, obviously, your resistance training. You obviously have your individual and your team training that may clash at times, and I feel that it's hard for me to make those changes and let go of certain things to make other things move forward. And how that looks is that during the off season is pretty cool. I just have my individual training, which is great. And then as soon as in season picks up, obviously you have different training days. Sometimes you have a game on Sunday, on Saturday. Training sessions also, depending on like the weather or people's availabilities, may vary. And in my head, I like to have a very structured plan, so I don't like to change my days around too much. And when you combine both and you don't, or at least you find it hard to make changes and let go of certain aspects to privilege others that are more important at the time, that's where problems arise. And that's definitely something we need to, be mindful of. And the second thing is obviously, a consequence of the first issue, which now leads you to feel like one is hindering the other. It feels like individual training is against your team training. And the issue with this is that it may make you feel like when both are combined together, one has to suffer for the other. It's either one has to suffer for the other, or both have to both suffer because they're put together. Both are hindered because they're put together. And that's an issue because it doesn't have to be like that. Especially if you plan it out well, especially if you optimize the way you're meant to. So we'll quickly get into different ways we can deal with these mental blocks that we have on ourselves. And the number one thing we can do is to first and foremost realize that the mental and physical side of the game go hand in hand. I know that we have specific goals for ourselves. Oh, I want to be this sharp. I want to get this many shots off in my training. I want to, be this fit, or maybe have 2-3 running sessions throughout the week on top of my team training because I want to be sharper than my, competition. At the end of the day, your teammates are your teammates, but you want to be competitive not only for yourself but also for the team. So in your mind, you're trying to stack things up together and thinking that you will necessarily get more out of it, thinking that by doubling up the work you can get double the quality or double the benefits, which is not always true, because this only takes into account one side of the game, which is the physical side. And the other side is the physical side of the game, where your body feels how it feels. No matter what you put your mind to, you still have to be mindful of what your body feels. And although it's important to push yourself, you need to listen to your body and treat both equally. I'm not trying to give you a specific routine to follow. I'm not saying that you have to cut a certain amount of your personal training off, but resolving this issue starts with the realization that the physical and the mental side go hand in hand and they need to be treated as equal. Now, the second thing to solve this would be to make regular assessments and changes. Now, I obviously mentioned the fact that I personally struggled with, making and trusting changes to my personal schedule, adapting it to my team training, not missing out on whatever. Making it a point to make regular assessments facilitates that process. One week could be very different to the week that follows. Your body might feel better the first week, it might feel worse the second. you may have a nagging pain in your ankle, a nagging pain in the groin, and you will have to make assessments, adjustments based off of that. We all want to follow this very linear routine, this very linear path of, okay, I have 6 weeks. This is what my training is going to look like every single day for these 6 weeks, which is good. I think that if you don't plan, you plan to fail, but you should also plan to make assessments. Sorry, not assessments, but adjustments. And how do you make those adjustments? You make regular assessments. So I'd say maybe once a week, at the end of the week, just sit down with yourself, see where you are mentally, physically, look at your training, look at areas where you may have done too much or areas where you may have not done enough. You went into team training, you felt like you weren't sharp, your touches weren't sharp enough, your shooting wasn't sharp enough, your scanning wasn't sharp enough, or maybe your body wasn't, maybe too tired, you pushed a little too hard in the gym, on top of your, team resistance training that was already planned. Now you can see how you can, look at the following week, make the little adjustments, allow your body to recover, and just keep things in the balance, So that's pretty much what this video was about. Just to give you a feel of what this new series is about, and the kind of topics we will cover. Like I said, I will keep this video very raw, uncut. I don't think I'll cut anything out, really. And it's not by laziness or anything, but it's also to further emphasize the constant changes, the constant changes that run our minds as athletes, the constant thoughts, that are just going through our minds in training, at home, and wherever we may be. This is also to show you guys that, as I can make mistakes, saying changes and change, whatever, we also make mistakes when we train. We also get in our heads at times. I had training yesterday, had a bit of an issue with my groin. It got to my head because it's from a past injury that kept me out for 6 months. So, just little things like this, these things are constantly in your head. And I want this series to be a reflection of that, in the sense that we put ourselves in the mindset that we are in by not cutting the videos, by not, making all these crazy edits. No, we're diving into the mind. There's no cuts to the mind. There's no break to what you have going on in the mind. It's raw, it's uncut. You feel what you feel, and that is what it is. So I hope you guys like this new format. Now we still have, the messages that will be coming. I think the week will start with In the Mind of an Athlete, and then the second half of the week will be a message for you, where I'll obviously bring you guys a message like I used to do back in my Spain days. Go over some scripture and explain a couple of things, give some tips, give some advice, and hopefully this can edify someone, and not only allow me but allow you to be better, whether it be through sports, whether it be in your faith. This is what this channel is about. So yeah, hopefully you like this video, hopefully you like this new format, and I'm back and I'm here to stay. See you in the next one.